Recently, I have been spending a lot of my time on the tanks inside the main house rather than in the fish room. And you would have seen this in my showpiece aquascape build videos where I've built a beautiful planted aquarium in my living room to be the centerpiece of the house, really. I've also, alongside that, been building another new nano tank for a Siamese fighting fish, which is going to be released on the Practical Fish Keeping YouTube channel and in the June issue of the magazine, June 2025, in case you're watching this long time in the future. I'm not entirely sure when this video will be published, so it might be out already, it might not be out yet. But yeah, you'll be able to find it if you look for it. Alongside these tank builds, I have been doing some things in the fish room just off camera. And now you might be able to see some of the changes going on in the fish room behind me, including the fact that this tank to the left of me is now empty. It used to be home to my rathbones, etc. They have now been moved to the tank below, which previously was home for the six-banded barbs and the blue neon resporas, which are now in my showpiece aquascape. So had a right little move around, and I freed up this tank, emptied it, fully drained, shut it down completely. And that is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the changes that are going to be going on in this fish room. So let's get started and I'll talk you through what's going on in here, and I reckon you'll be quite interested to find out what I've got planned. Right by the door into the fish room is this tank here. It's really quite unattractive and nothing much to look at, and it wasn't really meant to be filled with water. This is the first aquarium I ever had, and I'm reluctant to sell it or bin it because it's quite sentimental. It was my entrance into the hobby, and that means quite a lot to me. So it's been sat here empty for a long time, and when I was cleaning out my tank that has the daddios and the sparkling gourami in, I emptied the filter and found fry in there. I didn't really have space for raising them, I don't have the food for raising them, but I felt bad sort of just leaving them in the tank to be eaten. So I popped them in here with water from their home aquarium, some of the sediment from the filter to provide live food and some botanicals, and just wanted to see what would happen. I'm occasionally feeding the tank with some vinegar eels, some dry food that's crumbled up and powdered, and some green water, just to keep the microorganisms alive, to see if they will be sort of enough to keep the fry alive, but who knows. I think they're probably sparkling gourami rather than the daddios, but I thought I'd give it a try. Not really filming the process because I don't think it's going to be successful. But yeah, that's the first thing that's changed. I've got another tank here half filled with water, just seeing what happens. As I already mentioned, I've already emptied out this aquarium, and you may think this might be because I want to do a rescape or keep a different species of fish, which is kind of true. I do want to do a new scape, but I'm not going to be doing it in this tank. In fact, this is just the first step of a very big project where I'm going to be emptying all 6 of the aquariums that are on this racking unit. Today I'm going to be emptying this one here, moving the fish to a different tank for holding and fully draining and turning off the filters, because this tank and this tank used to share a sump, which is in the bottom corner. I can then turn that off, turn all the filters, the pumps, the heaters, and fully drain the whole system. Once I've done these 2, I will then be working my way down, emptying out the remaining 4 tanks. The reason I started at the top is because these fish can be housed in other aquariums and are not currently breeding. The tank here is my half-beaks, which are currently breeding. I've got young in there, which I'd like to grow up a little bit more before I disturb them. This is working quite nicely as a holding tank for the tetras, so the rathburns are in here. The neons and ruby tetras and pencilfish can all come and join the rathburns. They'll all be absolutely fine together in a community sort of South American tank. I can just sort of condense down. Once the half-beaks are grown up, I'll reduce down again, get rid of these 2, and work on the bottom 2. The bottom 2 are home to my Hypancistrus plex, which have just started breeding again. I'm already rearing some fry, and I've got another batch just about to fully absorb their yolk sac. So again, once I've removed those fry and I can move them into a smaller tank for rearing, I can rehome the adults and shut down that tank. And then I've got my sort of plant farm, daddio, sparkling gourami tank. And again, it's working quite nicely to sort of hold some of the nice plants from these tanks that I might want to keep hold of. So that will then be the last one to go. So you may be wondering, why do I want to get rid of this unit? I mean, it's perfectly good. It's very sturdy. It's welded metal rather than the clip together racking that my nano tanks are on. But you can't really imagine it in a living room or even another fish room because it was a bespoke made tanks and racking system from 20 years ago, which I got secondhand. So working for practical fish keeping now, I kind of want and need my stuff to be sort of achievable and relatable for the masses, really. I mean, this is just not something that people are going to be able to replicate. So instead, I'm going to be getting rid of all of this and replacing them with 2 or 3 standalone units where you've got the tank and the cabinet and the light units as a complete kit that people can and easily go and buy and replicate what I'm doing. It's a big shift away from what sort of my channel and my hobby has been in this fish room. It's all been black water, and believe me, there will be plenty of black water tanks in here still. But I want to do these black water tanks in nice aquariums that are aesthetically pleasing, and people could then picture sort of picking up that tank and putting it in their living room to great effect. So yeah, that's sort of the reason behind doing all this. One, I'm going to have a few less tanks so I can spend a bit more time on each one, making them look more attractive. These never really looked great because I was just splitting my time over 15 aquariums. So before I show you what's going on over on the NanoRack, and you might be able to see there's some new products and stuff over there, so exciting projects that are coming very soon. I'm going to empty out this tank and relocate the fish, and I will show you a few clips along the way so you get an idea of how I go about stripping down one of my aquariums. The first job is, of course, to unplug any electrics that are supplying that. So that was the pump and the heater for this tank, which is all sat in this sump. Because if I left it running and I started draining out that tank, they'd become sort of dry and potentially become a hazard, and break the pump, break the heater, wouldn't be good. So turn them off first. I'm then just going to scoop out all of these floating plants because they're going to make it absolutely impossible to catch out the fish. In this tank, I have Heteranthera zostifolia, which is a lovely plant, but quite common and easily available. And it's kind of smothered in algae, so I'm just going to get rid of that. But at the back here, I've got some Myriophyllum, only a few stems of it, but I've got a few stems of Myriophyllum romani, something like that Ty gave me. And now I don't want to get rid of this. I've actually also got some Kabomba of some kind as well, which I will take. So these are plants that aren't so readily available, and I will see if I can transfer them into my plant farm tank and get them growing a bit better. I've also got a few stems of Mayaka over here, and now I'm going to grab these out as well, because again, it's slightly harder to get hold of, and I want to see if I can grow it in the farm tank. With the fish all caught and moved across, really handy. They had the same water chemistry because I got that tank ready for the Rathburns, and the Rathburns and this tank were in the same water. So really easy, no acclimatizing needed. Just netted them out, moved them across. It's now time to remove the rest of the water, the substrate, any remaining plants and botanicals. But you would have seen me do pretty much this when I emptied out the tank ready for my showpiece aquascape build. So I'm going to pause recording there. I'm just going to get this done so it's out of the way. And then I will come back to you, and for you it will be a couple of seconds. For me it's going to be half an hour. And I'll talk to you about my plans for the new project on the NanoRack. So the tank is now empty. Success. I made an absolute mess of the fish room, but so be it. That's what happens when you empty fish tanks. But yeah, the exciting news is I've got a new tank behind me. As you can see, it is a Weo Vista, and it is the super shallow Weo Vista, measuring 80 centimeters wide, 45 centimeters front to back, and only 16 centimeters high, which is insane dimensions, and obviously fairly restrictive in terms of what you can keep in it, because, I mean, you don't have a huge amount of height to have any fish. So with that, inside we have a load of Weo Tigris sand. We've got 10 kilos of Tigris sand to go in here. We also have, down on the floor, which you can't see, a mega box of the Bumblebee Stone by Weo as well, and an Awaza Filtosmart Thermo 100, all to go on this tank. I'm not going to give you any spoilers as to what is going into this aquarium, or at least what my plans are for this aquarium, because I want to know what you would do with an aquarium with these unusual dimensions, because they are pretty strange. I know lots of people have shallow tanks, but they're normally like the nano tanks. But to have only that 16 centimeters depth, but 80 centimeters to play with, that's just mad. So yeah, let me know what you would do with this aquarium, and stay tuned for a full tank build where I put the sand, the rocks, the filter, the tank, all together to make something hopefully quite amazing. This is all for an article for the Practical Fish Keeping magazine. Obviously, that's my job now, so I do have to think about writing articles about what I'm doing. So that is the plan. But I will film a build video to go alongside it as well. So yeah, that is what's been going on in the fish room. I don't think I've missed anything else. The other tanks are as normal. I gave this tank a really good trim, but Slav, the Betta and Bellis, are still doing fine in there. This tank is still home to 2 licorice gourami, and they're doing great. The plants are doing absolutely amazing. But I do find filming and photographing the fish in here absolutely impossible. So I think this tank might be one that I look to redo in the coming months. And then at the bottom, I've got my Betta alba marginata, the Hypancistris fry, and the juvenile Betta alba marginata as well. So yeah, and then this is my knife fish tank. Nothing's going on there either. So yeah, that's what's going on with the fish room. Once this racking system has been removed, my hope is that I can shuffle this into the corner a bit more, because there's wasted space back there. Have 2 or 3 tanks along this wall, which are going to be scaped and looking good. And then another tank, this tank here, I'm looking, I think, to replace and make it a little bit longer, because again, I've got wasted space back there as well. If this rack moves that way a little bit, I reckon I've got a bit more space there that I can get an extra 10-20 centimeters of length, and probably an extra 5-10 centimeters of depth as well. So yeah, lots of plans to make better use of this space in a more sort of aesthetically pleasing way. So make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the future builds and updates on this fish room. I won't show you any more of sort of the breaking down the tanks on this racking system, because you've seen it once. I'm just going to repeat that 4 times. So it's not going to be the most interesting. But I will come back to you when I've removed all of this from the fish room and got new tanks to show you. I haven't decided what dimensions, what models of tank, what brands of tank even I'm going to put against this wall. So I would love to hear what you would recommend, what tanks you'd like to see me play around with, whether there's one you'd like a review of, and I'll see if I can source it and do a scape in the fish room for it. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you found this interesting. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't kept in the dark and then suddenly the fish room looked completely different. I'm pretty pushed for time at the moment, but hopefully I will be back soon with some more builds and some more updates for you.